Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to my March and April reading wrap up. Okay, in March and April, I read decent books. I had a pretty good time. I didn't have any five stars this past 2 months. Oh my god, no, I did. Okay, I was actually just watching my stack, but I had that last book on a different shelf. So let's just jump right into it. I'm talking about these books from least favorite to favorite of those past 2 months. Okay, well, first book that we're talking about is unfortunately a DNF, and it's extra unfortunate because this is one of my favorite authors' backlist books. I'm talking about none other than Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman. This is the third time I tried picking this book up, and I think by three times, and I'm not connecting to it. I think it's just, we have to call it what it is. It's a DNF. This book follows Britt Marie, and she is really routine and strict, and she's been a homemaker for her husband for a really long time. She's old-ish now. I think maybe in her I can't. Okay, I actually can't tell you how old she is, but I know that she's no spring chicken. She's spent a lot of years of her life and of her youth tending to this man who has been cheating on her. So she finds out that he's been cheating, and she kind of basically just wants to create her own life outside of him for the first time in her life. And so we start following Britt Marie, and her first action is finding a job. She wants to find a job so that, well, I actually really appreciated the way she explored this feeling of wanting to be seen and wanting her life to be witnessed because other than her husband, she has nobody really and she has nothing. And in her head, she thinks that there's nobody who would notice if she died. So she wants to find a job because if you have a job, then people will notice if you don't show up. So I really like that, and that notion kind of gave me some kind of optimism towards the story this time around. And I thought that maybe I would enjoy it this time. I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't connect with Britt Marie, and I don't know, something about this writing, which is very reminiscent of standard Frederick Bachman writing. Something about it annoyed me. And it made me sad because I feel like I usually love his through lines and his repetition and the way that he brings things back around. And in this book, it really annoyed me. I felt like we were being really, 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 really repetitive. Every sentiment, every statement was being repeated over and over. And it got to a point where it just really annoyed me. And I think partly because of that, I couldn't really resonate with Britt Marie as a character because I felt like she was just making snippy remarks, but not really saying much most of the time. And I didn't appreciate that. And it just kind of it didn't work for me, and I hope that it works for somebody else. And if this is somebody's first Frederick Bachman book, I hope that it works. I think that what I'm struggling with right now with Frederick Bachman is sometimes I feel like I've read the best of his work that's out right now. My two favorites are the Beartown trilogy and Anxious People, specifically the first two books in Beartown and Anxious People. So sometimes going to his backlist feels like setting myself up for failure, and that's kind of what this felt like. But I hope that if you pick this up as your first Frederick Bachman book, that you know that there's so much greater out there in terms of his backlist. And I hope that other people enjoy it. It didn't work for me, unfortunately. Oh my god. This one is one that I am genuinely terrified to talk about online. It scares me to have an adverse opinion on this book. However, this is my truth and this is my channel. And I will preface by saying that I have seen all of the Hunger Games movies, even the prequel, Songbirds and Snakes, seen them all, loved all of them, seen the original trilogy multiple times. Like, I really do love the cinematic universe of Hunger Games. I've been making my way through the original trilogy, and I felt like after the Hunger Games won, it just went downhill. I think that as somebody who doesn't enjoy rereading, knowing everything that happens in the stories made it a very boring endeavor for me specifically. And it also, I don't feel like it gave much more than what the movies did, which I guess is a testament to the movies and how much depth we were able to get from them. But I read Mockingjay, and this one was almost a DNF. I scraped my teeth to get through this one. I felt like it was so boring, and I didn't love Katniss's character. And while I do understand this book, I understand what it's trying to do. I understand the message. I understand where our main characters were at mentally at this point, and that it could not be an exciting read. I just couldn't appreciate it because I had already been feeling kind of bored and feeling like I've seen this story before, so why am I reading it? Through the entire trilogy when I was reading it. So by this book I was like, okay, let's wrap it up. I just maybe I just don't have an appreciation for revolution or rebellion stories, but I think I do. I think I really do. And I just didn't feel like this one had the intensity and the tension that I wanted it to. I also just felt like without the games, the tension of the world and the intrigue of the politics just wasn't as good in my opinion. So this one kind of fell flat for me, but I finished it. So next we have a Kindle read. This is actually my only, yeah, non-physical read in these past couple months, which good for me to be honest. I have been trekking through that physical TBR these past couple months, so I'm proud of that. But I read What the River Knows by Isabella Ibanez, and I did not like it. I loved the first, I want to say the first 40 to 50% of this book. I really loved. It's a following our main character Inez, and her parents are, I want to say archaeologists, but they do something in that sphere of career, and they usually go to Egypt for extended periods of time on discovery missions, right? And they usually do this with Inez's uncle Ricardo. Is that his name? Did I just make that up? Not sure. But yeah, that's kind of the basis of the story. At the beginning of the story, we find out that her parents are dead, and she now stows away to Egypt to figure out what the hell happened with her parents. And I thought that the setup of the story was really interesting. I also really liked the setting, and I loved what I thought it was going to give me, like kind of dark, mysterious, amazing discoveries. It felt like the setting was just a backdrop, in my opinion. It felt like such an amazing and immersive and incredible setting, and plot was kind of made silly, if that makes sense. Like some of it was just silly, the way that it was written, and I feel like there was so many incredible things going on that could have lent itself to more action-packed scenes and moments, and even like tender and vulnerable moments, and it all felt very on the same line to me. The emotional intensity of every single second in that book felt the exact same no matter what was happening. And there was a lot happening, technically. There was a lot of grief, there was a lot of discovery. There were moments where action could have ensued, but it didn't. There was some type of romance that didn't work for me. I really didn't like it. And also, I hear myself sounding like a hater right now. And I promise I'm not. I really wanted to love this book. I just didn't. And I think this is the last book that I really didn't like. Okay, no, I have one more. But the rest of them I loved. So I'm just going to move on from that because I have a reading vlog where I talked at length about my feelings regarding What the River Knows. So at number six, have I even been counting? No. But at number six, I have One Italian Summer by Rebecca Seal. I have loved or really, really liked the two other books that I've read from her before. They've always fallen short on something, but overall, I've had a very positive experience with them, and they've also been kind of unconventional romantic stories with a literary or just general fiction backdrop. More women's fiction, not literary or general, more women's fiction backdrop. But this one just uh fell flat. It fell flat, I'll be honest. I loved the setting. I think this is some of the most vivid Italian or anything setting I've ever read. I felt literally transported, and I feel like that's really the driving force of what made me finish this book in the first place. But this one follows our main character, Kate, is it? Yeah, Katie. Katie, she and her mom have this really incredible relationship, and then her mom passes away, and she is in the throes of grief. She's really down bad, and her and her mom had booked this trip to Italy to experience it together, because her mom had this trip that she took when she was younger to Positano, and she always talks about it. So they said, you know what, let's go, let's take a trip together, just me and you. But then her mom unfortunately passed away, so she ended up taking the trip on her own and starts seeing her mom, but at age 30. So I thought that the premise of this was so interesting. And I will say that there were elements of this that I really loved. As I said, I loved the setting. I thought that it was so immersive, so descriptive, so beautiful. I loved that. I also really liked the way that motherhood was discussed. I feel like this book really humanized moms and kind of reminded us to have grace for their mistakes and their shortcomings, because they are also just humans. They're just girls who are also doing this for the first time. And I really appreciated that sentiment. I also really liked the idea of getting to spend a vacation with your mom when she's like your age. I think that that's so interesting. And, before she's a mother and before she had that duty to you, finding out who she was before that, I think that that was really captivating, and it was also pretty well done. I wish we had explored it more. It felt like we really only touched the surface of that one, but I really did like what it was done with it. What I didn't like was our main character. I think I hated her, and it made the story really difficult to follow because she felt very whiny and kind of over dependent on her mom, and to a fault. Like, I think you could be dependent on your mom to a certain extent, and I think that there's definitely a healthy way to do it and to have that attachment and love to your mom as an adult. But the way that she made it seem like literally nothing else in her life is good because her mom is no longer with her, it felt like a very unhealthy attachment. And I kind of couldn't get over that mindset that she had. I also hate cheating in books, micro cheating, loopholes around cheating, any of it. I don't vibe with. And I mean, I don't know. It depends. It like I could enjoy it theoretically because I'm thinking back, and there have been movies like The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez where the guy in that was engaged and she was literally planning his wedding. One of my favorite movies of all time. I think that it has to be done lightheartedly, kind of dumbing down the importance of marriage to justify her behavior. I think that was some of the things that were really, really annoying me in this book. But also, I thought it was so unnecessary because her husband was a really kind guy, and I also don't know how everybody responds to grief. So I guess maybe this was just her grief response, but I just didn't like it, and I didn't like her overall. So maybe if I liked her, I could have given her a pass, but this was kind of just annoying. And then
Yeah.
I read Athena's Child by Hannah Lynn, and I really like this one. This is a Medusa retelling, and I liked it. It was really short, and I think that because of that, it lacks a little bit of depth. But for what it was, I really liked it. I loved the writing style. I thought it was kind of lyrical, but also not too flowery, and it packed a punch in certain moments, and I really liked that. I felt like we really got some insights into Medusa and who she really is and how she became the character that she is today. I also loved, again, I'm saying humanizing for the second time in like 10 minutes when I haven't said that word maybe in 10 years. But I feel like it really humanized Medusa and really reformed her story somewhat in my mind. I liked that they framed it, or that Hannah Lynn framed it in a way that showed her as a victim of her circumstance, but not really like a lying down victim per se, but just a girl who got like a really unfortunate case, or got pulled into really unfortunate circumstances, and the way that she tried to overcome and it just didn't work. I felt for her, and I really also love that we had a little bit of a hero's journey in the second part with Perseus. I really like that part. I also really love Perseus as a character. So yeah, I definitely liked this book a lot. I gave it 4 stars, and for such a short book, I feel like 4 stars is a lot. So yeah. Oh, I just checked my notes here. It says I love the conversation about storytelling and how they can be skewed as they move through the world. That was actually one of my favorite parts of this book as well. I think that coming down to the end, we kind of started to understand that the way that the world understood Medusa's story isn't the story that we were being told. And I loved, especially like the literal last page or the last paragraph of this book that really explores the way that stories can be so skewed so easily due to like a number of circumstances. I like that a lot. So yeah, I would definitely read more by Hannah Lynn, and I think that is there a sequel, or I saw something on Kindle Unlimited that looks kind of like this. So maybe I'll get into that one. Next, I read a book that I introduced me to one of my new favorite places to be. This Woven Kingdom by Tara Mafi. I am loving this series. I'm currently on the third one. I'm probably about to finish it today or tomorrow. But I'm having such a good time. I love this world and the way that it was set up. So we're following our main character, Eliza, and she is the long lost heir of a Jinn kingdom, which is a species of, I don't really know, to be honest. I know that there's Jinn and I know that there's Clay, and I know that the Clay basically has this empire and the Jinn are subservient to the clay in this world at this point in time. So she's our long lost Jin princess slash queen, and she has this prophecy where she is obviously going to rise up, and she's basically like this messiah to all of the repressed and oppressed Jin people within this world. And we're just following her story as she finds herself entangled with the prince of the Ardunian kingdom, who is Cameron. And I really like the politics in this world, and I love how simple it is. I feel like it's not doing too much and it's not trying to do anything too crazy, but it is so interesting and captivating. I love all of the characters and how fully fleshed out and developed they are. Like, I literally feel like they're real people. I feel so connected to them. And no matter what kind of happens with them, once it's positive, even if they don't end up together, I love all of them. I'm rooting for them, That's kind of where I'm at. And the action in this first one was really, really fun. It didn't have much action in the second one that I'll talk about soon, but I love that one more. So we'll talk about why. Okay, in number 3, we have They're Going to Love You by Meg Howry. This follows our main character, Carlisle, who grows up in this family that is obsessed with ballet and dance and entertainment and performance. Her mom grew up as a ballerina, and she became a professional ballerina for some time before she got pregnant with Carlisle. And then her dad, who was married to her mom at the time, but is now divorced, and he's married to Carlisle's stepdad, whose name is James. So she has a bit of a disconnected family, but she spends time with her mom, and then she also spent some time with her dad and her stepdad, Robert and James, back in New York. So she grew up around dance, but through this story, we're kind of seeing her come to terms with the fact that she's not going to be a ballerina, and she's trying to find her place within the dance world because she loves it so much. She just doesn't feel like she wants to be a ballerina. So I feel like her story was really interesting as a character, but also her story, we find out on the blurb of this book that she and her dad are estranged for some reason, and we get an interesting then and now perspective where sometimes it's a bit confusing where we are in time, but I feel like eventually you kind of get into it and you understand where we are most times. I enjoyed the story. I was really, really stressed out about what it was that was going to happen to cause such an estrangement between them. When I got it, it was a bit underwhelming, but it didn't take much away from the story. And I thought that the themes of family and self assurance and coming into your own and sometimes grief were really well developed in here. And we also talked a lot about forgiveness for both parents on both sides because she had a tricky relationship with her mom as well. And I thought that a lot of the things that were opened up in the story were closed really well. I didn't have much complaints. I really enjoyed it. This was my first full blown literary fiction in quite a while, and I did end up really liking it. Now we're in top two territory. I can't say too much. Just read it. This I'm starting to think that this is a 5 star. I think I rated it 4.5 stars because I think that this series still has room to grow, and I'm not sure if this is quite the 5 star yet. But I I devoured. I devoured this book. I was so obsessed. I had no idea that we were going there. I didn't know we were going there. So when we got there, I was giggling, kicking my feet. It was so good. It was good. In my notes, I have. I'm sorry, I was blushing, giggling, kicking my feet. I love Hazan. I actually love everybody. That's how I feel about this story, to be honest. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to give you a trigger warning because my dog did eat my homework with this one. But Seeing Other People by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broker. This is my literal baby. After the dog that ate it, this is my literal baby. This is my favorite book that I've read so far this year. And I'm going to put this down and just pop a picture on the screen. They are my Sheilas at the end of the day. I loved this book so much. We're following Morgan and Sawyer, who are both being haunted by ghosts of their past. Morgan is being haunted by her one night stand that she only kind of found out he died when he popped up in her apartment as a ghost a couple of weeks after their one night stand. And then Sawyer is being haunted by his ex fiance, who he was about to marry. Like they were planning their wedding, they were fixing their home, and she passed away. And this was 5 years ago when we start the story. So both of them meet in this I'm being haunted, ghost therapy type of situation. And they seem to be the only two people who can relate to each other's struggles and the only two people who seem to be genuinely haunted. So they kind of team up and try to figure out what to do with these ghosts and how they can help them rest in peace. So, what to say about this? The conversation about love and grief and second chances and even friendship, I just thought it was so beautiful. I felt so connected to these characters, and I think also as a newlywed, Sawyer's story broke my heart seeing the way that he completely shut down and he felt like he couldn't go on, and he was pretty happy to be haunted by his fiancee until she kind of started to fade away. And we see him grappling with the guilt of moving on and the guilt of trying to let her go, but he doesn't really want her to go. And mourning that life that he thought that they were going to have. It was heartbreaking. I felt like the writing was really simple but really poignant. I'm rendered speechless, and that often does not happen. That's kind of how I felt when I finished that book. I definitely felt speechless because, first of all, I was sobbing, crying, throwing up. I could not be consoled. But also, it was so hopeful. My brother, my younger brother, he, I'm trying to get him into reading. I've been trying for years. It's not working, but I was trying to get him into reading, and he was like, "Do you have any Hope Core books?" And I was like, what are you talking about right now?" But I understood what he meant eventually. Those like cute Hope Core humanity videos that you see sometimes. I feel like that was kind of what this felt like. Although it was really depressing and really heavy a lot of the time, it was also so hopeful to see two people healing each other and healing something in themselves and opening themselves up to love and to a second chance at love, because we also find out that, Morgan has her own stuff that she's been dealing with in terms of romantic love and opening up to people. And so seeing their gods slowly fall over time was just so wholesome and so sweet. And seeing them help each other along their healing was just. And the side characters, specifically Zach, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I hope that anybody who finds this even remotely interesting, it is, I would say, equal parts romance and just general fiction. But it was just so beautiful. This is my third Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broker book, and I have loved all of them. I've actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I've loved each one that I've read more than the last. I started with the roughest draft, and I think I gave that one maybe 4 or 4.25 stars. And then I read Do I Know You? That's a 6-star romance for me. And then I read Seeing Other People, also a 6-star, but somehow higher. I don't know if it gets higher than 6 stars, but they're both 6 stars, just on like a little bit higher. I loved it. I really, really, really highly recommend this one. Wanted to read, indulge me. I wanted to read one quote, maybe two, from this book because I'm really trying to convince you right now. I'm like a salesman at your door. Oh my god. Oh, we also have a bit of forced proximity because Morgan is really into gardening. That's kind of her career path. And as I said, he and his fiance were working on their home when she passed away. So he kind of let that place go to the dumps. It's basically like a haunted house, and the garden is absolutely rancid. So she comes in and she is helping him to renovate his garden. So I just wanted to give context. So the quote is, "In fact, I'm very lucky Morgan Lane likes prickly, lonely living things. I'm lucky Morgan sees a garden in a desert, a home in a haunted house, a life in a wasteland of loss." What? No, literally, what? What the hell? Oh my gosh, I think this might be my favorite one. It says, "While getting dressed, I examine the slash on my side, or what remains of it. Only a thin, straight scab stretched across my skin. It's incredible, seemingly supernatural, how quickly something so painful can start to fade away. Without Morgan, how much longer would the healing have taken?" It's okay. I'm done. It's unfortunately it's a contender for my favorite book of the year because I just feel so connected to those characters. It's insane. But that is all that I have for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and let me know what your favorite book of March and April were and what you rated them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.